Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this Microsoft Cloud Storage OneDrive for Business Level 100 training session. I do hope you're all having a good day today and you're excited to learn a little bit more about cloud storage in M365 and what that looks like. Now, just in case it is your first time joining us for today's session, I do want to let you know a few of the controls that you have available to you. So this is hosted on a Microsoft Teams live event, and that means that your camera and microphone are not in use. However, you do get a lot more controls over how you view the stream. You can play or pause at any point using the play pause button in the bottom left. You can change the volume using the speaker icon also found in the bottom left, and you can even rewind to different parts of the session using the white dot making its way across the bottom of the player. Simply click and drag it to the left to recap anything you've missed, and when you want to catch up with us live, you can hit the live button next to the timer. Towards the bottom right of your screen, you have the option to turn on closed captions by using the CC button with a square around it. And you also have the settings cog there as well that allows you to change those captions and the video quality. To go full screen, simply click the two-sided arrow at the very bottom right of your screen, although this will get rid of your Q&A. If you can't find your Q&A or just want to reactivate it, look for the two speech bubbles with a question mark inside it in the top right of your screen. This will pop out a right-hand panel that has two sections you need to know about. The featured section, which is the public area and controlled entirely by my moderator, who I'll introduce in just a moment. And then there is the My Questions area, which is the private location between you and the moderator where they can perhaps answer your questions privately or choose to move them into the featured section and answer there. So do check both if you're looking for answers. Towards the bottom, you can ask your question by putting your name in next to this little person if you wish. Ask your question in the box below. And if you want to post as anonymous, you can toggle on the post as anonymous button just below as well. We don't mind. But once you're all set with your question, send it away to us using the little paper plane option down at the bottom right. As a reminder, this training is being recorded and will be available on demand for 180 days. All you need to do is pop the join link back into your browser and you'll be taken to a recording of this session. As a reminder, this is Microsoft Cloud Storage, OneDrive for Business, although we will be looking a little bit at SharePoint today as well. You can ask your questions using that Q&A throughout the session. I'll be constantly checking in to see how we're doing over there, and your microphone and camera are not in use, so get yourselves nice and comfortable. But who is with you today? Well, you may remember me from previous sessions. My name is Catherine and I'm a Microsoft Training Associate from the London Experience Centre based in Oxford Circus. And I'll be doing the presenting today, taking you through my demo tenant and all of that good stuff. But I'm not alone. I'm also joined by the lovely Richard, who's going to be our moderator today. So, Rich, would you like to introduce yourself and let people know about your role?
Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. My name is Richard, or you can call me Rich. I'll be behind the scenes just acting as a moderator today. You can interact with us using the Q&A panel in the top left hand corner, represented by 2 speech bubbles and a question mark inside. And of course, you can choose to ask your questions anonymously or include your name. We'll choose to reply back privately or publicly, depending on whether we think the question is relevant to everyone. And just a reminder, there is a 10 to 20 second delay between when we present and you receive the video feed. So we ask that you kindly be as detailed with your questions as possible, as the moment you might be asking about may have already passed. I'm going to hand it back over to you, Kat.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rich. So what is our agenda for today? Well, you can see we've got quite a bit to go through. Firstly, we're going to be looking at how you can access and edit your files from all of your different devices using that single Microsoft Work login. Very handy. We're also going to be showing you how to share inside or potentially outside of your organization as well when it comes to your files, how you can work together in real time on Office documents using something called co-authoring, and how to easily find the files that matter to you, especially as you start uploading more and more to the cloud. Uploading to the cloud also protects your files and keeps them backed up too. So lots and lots to cover, all about different cloud storage options that you have available. Now, when it comes to collaborating across content in M365, pretty much everything is tied to your work login, and that allows you to access basically your files anywhere that you like by using things like OneDrive for Business or maybe even SharePoint. So when you have something uploaded to the cloud, it becomes a live file as it is stored online. Because it's stored online, you benefit from added security, you get AI help when searching, and of course, the online platform is super scalable as well. So loads and loads of storage options for you there too. Because it's a live document online as well, if you choose to share that out, anyone else working on it with you will be able to basically collaborate on the same document. You no longer need to worry about local copies being stored on different devices, or perhaps having local copies emailing back and forth to each other. It's much quicker now just to share a link. And the great thing about it being backed up as well on the cloud means that if you do happen to lose your device, or perhaps it breaks down, whatever it may be, you're not losing all of those files that you had stored on your hard drive, because that's no longer where they are located. Now they're stored online, so you can access it from OneDrive by logging on to your Office account. Really, really easy. And again, just much simpler when it comes to accessing, finding, and working with your documents. Now, there are different ways to work with files throughout M365, which is kind of the general suite of products that we have. And they all offer intelligent file experiences. Today, we're going to be starting with OneDrive for Business, and this is kind of your personal cloud storage location within your business. It allows you to access your files dependent on your login. It can work as a separate folder, a cloud-based folder on your desktop. We'll be showcasing how that works, but is also available online through office.com and OneDrive.com. If you upload your files there, you'll be able to access them later on by going to the same web space. And of course, it's all protected by being on the cloud as well, which is really, really handy. Again, if you want to work on them locally, you can sync them down to your PC too, but you still benefit from all of that cloud backup. This will probably make a lot more sense once we start showing you what the tool looks like, but think of OneDrive as a personal cloud storage location. The next thing we'll be taking a look at is SharePoint Online. And as the name suggests, with share in the front, it is a place where you have a shared file resource. Still backed up online, but this case stored more inside of a company intranet. So any files you upload there are usable by everybody that owns and is a member of the SharePoint site. This is particularly evident inside of Teams. And the reason that we have Teams in the middle is because it isn't really a cloud storage location on its own. It's more of a way that you can access both OneDrive and SharePoint Online. Anything that you share within a private chat, whether it be one-to-one, group, or in a meeting, will be stored on OneDrive for Business. It's still your files and your OneDrive. You've just chosen to give access to the individuals that you've shared it with. This means that you can also manage your own file access here as well. So if you need to revoke any access or, maybe change the permissions for the file, you're still in control. SharePoint, however, because it's a shared space, means anything that you upload there now belongs to the group and technically belongs to the owners of the SharePoint site. Within Teams, this includes sharing files within a Teams channel. So that shared space where you're all working together. Once you do that, the file effectively becomes property of the team and the team owners. Teams doesn't really store anything itself, it just allows you to utilize both OneDrive and SharePoint through it. Again, we'll be showing you how that all kind of interacts and works together, especially when it comes to SharePoint Online, as you're probably going to be using this pretty exclusively through Teams. But I'd like to jump straight into the demonstration simply because I think it makes things a lot clearer when it comes to sharing out and just kind of showcases how easy it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Everything's going to go a little blank. And then I'm going to just reshare my desktop in this case and actually take you to my demo environment. Now, I will be using a virtual machine for this. Just think of it as like a virtual computer inside of a regular computer. And that means that all of the information that you're going to see here belongs to my demo account. So none of it is real information. So don't worry if you see anything that looks a bit interesting. It's all false. And of course, it also means that maybe some things aren't going to sync quite as nicely as it would if I was using my work account on my main PC. So just a little heads up there. Before I continue, a couple of things. I just want to check in with Rich if you can see my screen okay, and if we had any questions already.
Thanks for checking in. The screen seems to be just fine and no questions in the Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rich. Awesome. So we're actually going to start with OneDrive, as I think this is the simplest thing to explore. And also because it's personal to you, it's best that you get familiar with your own cloud storage. We're actually going to be beginning in Office as well. So I've just made my way over to office.com. I've logged in and I can see in the top right, my little face over here. That means that I've logged in with my work account. I can always click on that account to see just what email I'm using. And in the left-hand rail, I have access to all sorts of different Microsoft apps that my business has allowed me to do. Here, I can look down and find a little cloud, little blue cloud here, and that is my OneDrive for Business storage. Now, if you can't see it in this left-hand rail, don't panic. You can click on the All Apps button at the bottom left, or the waffle icon in the top left to find your different applications that maybe you haven't used as regularly. Here, we're going to find OneDrive. When I click on that, it's going to open up a brand new tab for me, and it's going to keep me logged in. I can still always check by checking in the top right corner. And here we have pretty much all of the files that I have stored inside of my OneDrive. Navigation in OneDrive works on the left-hand side. You can see I'm going to start in my default area, which is My Files. This really is just to look at my OneDrive folder to see all of the files that I have stored in there. It's always listed at first with folders up at the top and any individual documents listed underneath. And as you can see, I have quite a lot stored inside of mine. If I'm taking a look at one of my folders, for example, demo content, I can see a bit of information about it at a glance. I can see the name, of course. I can see when it was last modified, who changed it, the file size, so how many things it contains, and if I'm sharing this out or if it's private. If I were to scroll down to perhaps a document, you can see we have the same information, title, when it was last changed, who shared it, but this time we have the size of the file instead of the number of items within the folder. And we can also see again if it's private or shared. So this particular file, this Ali demo PowerPoint, has been shared out. And if I want to know who I've shared it with, I can even click on the little shared icon there too. Very handy. Across the top, we have a few more controls for us. Here, I can start a new folder or document. I can even add in a link to a useful web page if I want to have quick access to it. I can choose to upload a file or a folder from my local PC. Maybe I've been working on something in private and I'm ready to share it to the cloud now. I can also sync my OneDrive folder. This will give me a desktop location that allows me to work on these files using my File Explorer down at the bottom here. One thing I will say about this, for OneDrive, it's likely that your folder is already synced up. So you will have a dedicated folder inside of your File Explorer in your PC just for OneDrive. Just because it's available offline, so you can see it in your File Explorer, doesn't mean it isn't linked and syncing to your online folder. So if you are using both, just be aware if you delete anything off your local OneDrive folder, that change is going to be reflected on your online OneDrive folder too. Now, when it comes to the left-hand area, this is where we can move through the different sections. My files is probably where you're going to be working the most, but there's also a recent area to see anything that we've recently worked on once that loads up. And inside all of these areas too, there are some filtering options up at the top right as well. So I can change if I want to view this as a list or maybe as different panels instead or get some information. Just going to refresh my page here. This is kind of the thing we're talking about with using a demo account. There we go. And I can see recently, it looks like I've been working on some shared notebooks with people as well. Awesome. Speaking of shared, there is a dedicated shared section too. So if I want to see, maybe Rich has shared a document with me and I have lost it, maybe I can't find it again, but I absolutely know he shared it. Maybe I want to take a look in my shared area here to see who shared the document out. So I can see I've got a lot of documents shared by Candy, but I've also got a meeting recording by Mary here, very useful. And across the top of this one, I have shared with you and shared by you as well. So if I want to take a look at things that I've been sharing out, maybe I need to change some of the access on it, I can take a look in this location too. The cool thing about having this more expanded view as well means that underneath I can get a little look at where the actual document is stored. So for me, I can see that it's in my personal OneDrive folder associated with this account in the location of documents. Hovering over the file as well gives me what we call an iCard, which is just a bit of information relating to the document. So who's actually viewed it, I can see any details about the document, and I can also see if we had any conversations around it. Maybe I sent this in an email. Lastly, but very importantly, we do also have the recycle bin. So if you did delete something from your OneDrive and you're thinking, gosh, where's it gone? I didn't mean to remove that. How do I get it back? You can always find your recycle bin in the online version of OneDrive. So this might be why you want to access it online. I can see plenty of little things that I've been deleting. And generally speaking, your OneDrive recycle bin, I believe it is working for 93 days by default. This can be extended or shortened by your organization. So if you're finding that it's not working too well for you, do feel free to sort of check in with them and see what their recycle date is. And if you're really, really stuck, maybe you've deleted something out of the recycle bin as well. There is also the second stage recycle bin, although I believe this is only active for 30 days. So generally, hopefully you won't need to use the second stage recycle bin, but worst case scenario, you do have that option just down at the bottom there too. We do have some quick access on the left-hand side as well. This is actually some SharePoint sites that I've been using recently. So I can see here I have one for the Scottish Tech Army. This SharePoint site was created when we made a team a while back in previous training. And I can go here if I need to access that shared cloud space too. Great. I'm going to hop up to my files again, just show you kind of how we can work within different files and what we can do in this particular case. So maybe I want to start a brand new document. I know that I want it stored on the cloud just so I can share it out straight away, or that, if it's a document that I want to make sure is auto saving, I don't want to lose it, I can start from this location straight away if I want to. I'm going to hit new, and in this case, I'm going to choose a Word document. This will open up Word Online for me, and I can start working with the file here. Again, looks like my net is having a bit of an interesting time when it comes to my demo environment. So let's try one more time. Let's go for a Word document here. There we go, looking a little better now. And I can start working on this same way that you would work on a regular Word document, a local one as well. I can also see, if I want to, by going up towards the top, this editing area here. And I can change it over to reviewing, viewing, or I can actually open this in the desktop app as well. So if I would like to work on this in the desktop version of Word, which does admittedly have quite a few more features, I can do so as well. And it's still going to be syncing to my OneDrive location. So I still have all of those lovely features like autosave up at the top. I can see where the document's saved to just by clicking on the title and saved up at the top left as well. And there we go. I can see it in my documents location on my OneDrive. I can rename the file here. So maybe we're going to call this demo document STA. I can start working on it. So I can start typing in maybe a title over here. Pretty standard stuff, as you would expect. And there really is no difference to working on it, whether it's stored on OneDrive or not. As long as you're using the online version, it's going to be the same. Let me see if I can remember. There we go. So we have some extra bits and pieces here. And then I don't know if you saw it up at the top, but now it says saved. If I were to start typing in, it's going to go to saving. So I can see all of those little updates being made as I make changes. Again, I don't need to worry if my computer suddenly shuts down or, anything happens at all. All of those changes I've made are saved as I go, which is very, very handy. I also, if I go into the file area too, have things like the info section available, as well as my standard options, such as the home page to start a new document, maybe opening a previous document as well. But if I head over to info, I can change to protect the document if I need to, which is view open. But I'm really interested in the version history because as it's stored online, as it's making all of those automatic saves, you may be thinking, goodness, what if I don't want everything to be saved? What if I've made a mistake and need to go back? In the version history here, it'll open up the version history pane for you. Now I can see the original document we had working on that was just blank. And I also have the current version where we've made some changes, and any of those changes will be highlighted in red. So it's really easy for me to see what changes are. If I don't like this view, I can always turn off the show changes option. And if I click to expand, if I had someone else working on this document with me, I can actually see who's made what changes too. So I'm the last person who modified it. If I really wanted to go back to my original document, not sure why I would in this case, but perhaps I did a bunch of work and decided I absolutely hate it, I want to go back. I can find that version in the list on the right hand side and either restore to this version. So next time we open demo document, it's going to be this blank page again. Or I can even save the other version as a copy in case I want to have both versions available to me. Very handy. I can click back to document in the left to take me back to sort of the live view, what I've decided is my current version here too. And speaking of working in documents, you might be thinking, well, that's all good, but I already know how to do cloud saving. I know how to work on documents myself. It's not an issue. What if I want to share this document and work on it with somebody else? Well, there's absolutely loads of ways of doing this inside of OneDrive. I can open the document itself and I can hit the share button in the top right. Here I can share directly or just copy a link to the document. Inside of OneDrive too, We can find our new demo document has populated there, and I can hit the little share button just next to it as well. Looks like a bucket with an arrow coming out of it. I can even select the document itself with this little tick on the left-hand side, and then I get a whole bunch of new options inside of OneDrive too. Again, including things like sharing, copying the link, or maybe even opening the document directly inside of my app. I can also rename, print, and download any documents from here too. So if I decided I wanted to have a local copy, one that isn't auto-saving, I want it completely separate from this, I'm going to take a copy for myself. I do have a download option here as well. Let's go ahead and share the document though, and I'm going to do it from inside of OneDrive in this case, just by clicking share at the top. And here we have probably a very familiar cloud sharing pop-up menu for you. This is where we choose how we are sharing the document and kind of what permissions the document has when I share it out. At the top, I can choose how this link works. So we're going to be sharing a link to this. It's an online document after all. And I can choose people in my organization with the link, our demo organization in this case being Contoso. But when I click on that option, I can choose a few more. I can choose anybody with the link. I can't stress this enough. This is not very secure. This means that anybody, a member of the public, whoever it may be, can access the same document with the link. Now that might be great if you want someone to, I don't know, see the document, you want it to be shared out to the public, maybe it's some marketing, something like that. You could choose this option, but there are probably better ways of sharing it out. People with your organization with the link is usually the default option. This allows absolutely anybody in Contoso with the link to work on the document. So if I sent this link to Rich and he shared it on to Candy, they would both be able to edit the document and they could share it to anybody else I work with. Now below, we have something a little bit more specific. We have people with existing access. So if I've already shared out the document, I've got the link, and I don't really want to create a new one if maybe Rich has misplaced it, then I can reshare effectively. And lastly, I have the specific people option. This is your most secure option if you need to limit collaboration. So specific people, really good. They can be inside or outside of your organization in this case. And it basically makes sure that they have to log in to view the document. If I shared this link out to Rich and said only Rich and myself can access it, and then he shared it to Candy, Candy would be told, hey, you need to log in. And if she's logged in as herself, she's going to be said, hey, you don't have any access to this document. It's not for you. I'm going to stick with specific people. And now we have a few more options as well. I can choose to allow editing, which is great if I want Rich to co-author this with me. He's working on this document with me and we're producing it together. But I can also disallow editing, which means that he's only able to view the document. If I have him on view only, I can even block the download of the document too by toggling on this button here. That means that Rich isn't able to get a local copy for himself. He has to use this cloud version and he only has viewing permission. If I do choose to allow editing, because we're using a Word document, I do get an extra little bonus option here as well, and that could be to toggle on Open in Review mode. That means that when he opens the document, I've clearly signaled to him that I'm just looking for reviews, maybe things like comments, things to add to the document rather than actually going in and working on it together. But he can still turn it to edit mode if he wants to. He still has full editing access. This is more just a prompt to say, hey, we're doing a review here. Maybe I'm just looking for notes. And I can toggle that off too. Once I have my link set up, you can see the permission change up at the top. I've got people I specify can edit. And this to button underneath is where I choose who I want to share this with. I'm going to search for Richard. And all I have to do is type in his name here. It's pulled from our global address book in the organization. So anybody that I work with in Contoso will start populating there. And as you see, as I did search for Rich, we do have another one working with us. So it is easy for me to tell them apart because we have their different profile icons, but also I can see the full email address underneath too. Really good to pay attention to if you have a lot of people with the same name and you want to make sure you're sharing it with the right one. To the right, I can also quickly change if I want him to have editing access or viewing access. Maybe I've made a mistake before with this pencil for edit and a pencil with a slash through it for view. And lastly, I can include a little message here too. Generally speaking, if I just hit send down at the bottom, he'll get a generic Outlook email with a link to the document saying, hey, you've been asked to work on it with Catherine. Here I can send a personal message though, such as please collaborate with me when you get this. And then I can hit send. I can click the Outlook icon if I want to start a fresh email and start composing it myself, if I really want to lay it out the way I wish. Or I think even easier, I can just hit the copy button down at the bottom. This will give me the sharing link, which then I can distribute how I like. I could send a Teams message to Rich with the sharing link in the message. I could send an email just with the link pasted into the message. I could share it on a website. I could share it wherever I need to. And this link will always point to the same document that we're working on. I'm just going to hit send now, though. It's a little simpler. I get a nice tick when it's been sent. And also, once it's sort of realized that I've shared it out, it's going to have shared listed next to this private area. And if I ever need to go back in and manage my access, this is where the vertical ellipsis comes in. I have my document here. I have it selected. I have it ticked. I don't even need to, but I can hover over the document. I'll get some vertical ellipsis. And then I get even more options for how I want to interact with it. I can open it in the app. I can open it in a browser. I can preview the document. I can share it from here or copy a link to it from here as well. I can also download it, print it, delete it, and move it and copy it the same way that I would with regular File Explorer. So it does have all of those lovely features. It's very easy for me to move documents around. I can click and drag to do that. I can use the Move To or Copy To as well. And I can even see my version history from here too. So if Rich were to go in and make some changes and I wanted to check how it was going, I can hit that as well. I will say, generally speaking, if you want to get into the real nitty-gritty of what changes have been done, you're best off opening the document and going to the version history in the file section, as this version history is a lot more slimmed down. I'll show you what I mean. It's just going to show me the general levels of versions. It's not going to give me a sneak peek at what was actually changed, just that we have different versions. You can see here, I can see Rich has made some edits, who they modified by, and the size of the document. It's not really showing me anything about the document itself. We also have the Manage Access option in here too. So if you decide that actually, I didn't mean to share it with Rich, or I need to go back in and change it, or you know what, maybe me and Rich have finished on the document and I want to give a viewing link to everybody else that I work with, I can do that. The Manage Access pane is on the right-hand side. I have a big stop sharing button at the top if I really need to just cut everything. I can also take a look at any of the links that I've created to give access and either go in and maybe copy this, remove it, change the link settings, who the link works for. And again, I can hit the share button to create a brand new link if I want to, maybe one that's for everybody. We also have something called direct access here. So this is a little more advanced. A link giving access is just that, it's a link. It doesn't mean that people necessarily have direct access to the file. It's more that they can click on the link, and if they match the person I've added to it, they can go in and do what they like. Direct access gives that same level of permission. They can go in and access things. So I can click on the plus here to give access here. And I can choose to notify people or not in this case. But direct access is quite useful because it allows you to add individuals maybe. So rather than having a bunch of specific links sharing access to different people, maybe you need some to have editing access, some to only have viewing access. In this case, I'm going to add the different Rich here. There we go. By giving direct access, I can choose individuals to see if they can edit or can view the document. Both work very well, and you can manage both in the same place. So it's really just how you prefer to do it. I personally like to use links because I feel like I get a little bit more control with this. But if you are sharing the document out to maybe a large group of people and you want to individually manage what they can view, can't view, if they can see it at all, this might be a better option for you. I'm not even going to notify him and just grant access there. And once you have granted access, he'll be shown underneath the document as well. Just here once it loads. We did say about co-authoring though, so I do happen to have the document open on another slide, and there we go. We can see Rich has made a change here, and I can take a look at that. If I wanted to really get into it, of course, I can go to my version history and see exactly what changes Rich has made. You'll notice how the in-depth version history even shows me who's made the changes, and if I expand that down, there we go. I can choose the changes that were made 2 minutes ago. Maybe I want to show the changes. And there we go. I can see what's actually been done individually too. So I did all of this bit, and then he just changed the top part here as well. Pretty handy. If I wanted to restore to my older version, again, I just click on it. I can hit restore. And don't worry, this isn't going to delete the changes that Rich has made. Oh, looks like he's hopped back into the document with me. That is something to note. Oh, perfect. Little addition here. All changes are saved in real times. And there you go. We've got this nice little picture in here as well. I can see where Rich is up in the top right. I can see that what page he's on, and I can even go to his location here as well and see exactly where he is. So we don't need to worry about necessarily working over each other. I'm probably not going to start writing a sentence here if I know Rich is down here. Maybe I'm going to go up to the top and start editing something else as well. Perfect. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And if Rich does leave the document, that's when I can restore to the previous version if I wish to. Although, to be honest, I quite like the edits that have been made here, so I'm probably not going to in this case. Now, I know I've been talking for a long time. We've talked a lot about OneDrive. Main reason being this online version of OneDrive works extremely similar to SharePoint. So it's good to get the basics out of the way here. But did we have any questions, Rich?
Thanks for checking in. We've had a few questions. They have all been answered in the chat, so something we need to cover. I think we're good to carry on.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. So this has all been working well so far. We've been in OneDrive Online, but maybe you would prefer to use it in your File Explorer, or maybe that's how you have been using it already, and you're wondering, how it differs. Well, we can see the online folder here, and if I were to hit sync, it's going to sync it down to my computer. This is where we'd want to search for things like OneDrive in our search area. And you can see here, I have this application with a cloud and a folder next to it. If I click on that, I now have viewing access inside of my OneDrive location. And I can actually see it in my file access listed on the left-hand side here. I've got OneDrive and my organization name. Now, because this is effectively a linked folder to the cloud storage location, we do have some extra things to be aware of. As you can see, next to all of my folders and documents, I have these status icons. This shows me kind of where the document actually is at the moment. A big green circle with a white tick inside of it means that everything in this particular folder, or if it was a file, that particular file, is actually taking up space on my computer and will be available offline. Because it's the green background with the white tick, this is actually a folder that I've chosen to make sure that it's always available on this device. However, because cloud storage is supposed to kind of help you free up a bit of local storage on your device, you can also have things called files on demand, which is kind of what this little cloud symbol symbolizes. Anything with this cloud icon next to it, such as my demo document from earlier, means that it's currently only stored online. It's not taking up any space on my device. But if I wanted to open it, maybe to work offline, it's going to sync the folder, it's going to download the item, and now I can edit it offline. So even if my internet connection cut out, I could still keep working on the document. And then once my internet connection comes back on, it will then sync the changes with the online location. I still have all access to things like the information, the version history, stuff like that. And I can make sure that it's saving by looking at the top left. This is the auto save we were talking about. I can also click on the title once again just to see where it's stored, and you can see it's definitely in my OneDrive for my organization, for me. And I can close that down. And once you have actually downloaded the document, what you'll find is that it has this little circle. It's a white circle with a green tick. This means that it's been downloaded onto the device. I can work on it locally, but if I choose not to open it for quite a while, I believe it's a couple of months, it will then re-upload it to the cloud in the background just to save me some storage. If you ever see these two little arrows chasing each other, that means that the document itself is currently syncing with OneDrive. So some of the changes that have been made maybe haven't been updated here just yet. And that can happen if you make a change locally and it needs to sync with the cloud, or if you've made a change on the cloud and it needs to sync with your locally stored document. They're always in communication. That also includes any deleting that you may do. So if I were to perhaps remove this demo document, if I hit the delete option there, that's also going to be removed from my cloud location. And I even get a pop-up saying, hey, just a reminder, it's not going to be available across all your devices, but you can get them from the recycle bin in the next 93 days. I can go straight to the recycle bin, or I can just hit got it. Awesome. If I want to perhaps change where a device is stored, so at this time I have this collaboration demo here. It's got a green background with a white tick on it, so I know that I've marked it as always keep on the device. To do that, I can right click on it, and I get plenty more options, such as being able to share out the document from here. I can view it online to quickly take me to my OneDrive location. And this is the important two. I've got always keep on the device and free up space. Always keep on the device. It's what it sounds like. It means that this is always going to be available offline. It's never going to be re-uploaded to the cloud, exclusively as an online on-demand document. Really great for things that maybe you don't even need to open that much, but you want to always have it there. Definitely recommends always keeping on the device, although it does take up your storage. But if I decide that actually, I really want this to just be online, I can hit free up space. That's not going to delete the document. It's just going to delete the local copy and put it back onto the cloud. And if I needed to get it again, I can just reopen it from this location as long as I have internet access. It's a little hard to see, but there's also a little person next to the documents that I've shared out, just to let me know that, hey, you have shared this out, that it does have someone else accessing it as well. And again, if I right click it and choose things like, view online, settings, I can take a look at how that's working as well. There we go. And I can click share. It'll give me the same pop-up as we had before, but down at the bottom, I can see who it's currently shared with. So I can sort of go in and maybe take a look at who that is. I can click on the shared with options at the bottom, see who the access is going to, and then again, manage my access from this location too. So you can do an awful lot with the desktop application. It's just, I find that the online version is a little bit clearer when it comes to sharing. It's a bit easier to see all the people you've shared with at once. Great. So that's pretty much it when it comes to OneDrive. Rich, do let me know if there's something that I may have missed or that you would like me to showcase before we take a look at things like SharePoint and Teams.
Thanks again for checking in. We're all good in the Q&A, so I think we're good to carry on.
Although I have just remembered myself, one other thing, if you are using the desktop version of OneDrive, it's not just going to be found in your File Explorer on the left-hand side there. There is also a OneDrive application, and you'll often find it down at the bottom right of your screen in this little area where you can see some of those extras such as your device charging, network, and all that good stuff. If you can't see it, try clicking this little arrow and seeing if it's in this little box too. This is kind of like a little mini view of your OneDrive here. It shows you things that have recently been syncing across, what you've done, if you've deleted anything. It's kind of like an activity feed for your OneDrive. And again, it's really handy if you are syncing something down and you want to check that, it's actually downloading. It'll show you progress on how quickly things are uploading or downloading. And I can get quick links to the folder and the online folder as well. But I want to highlight the help and settings area. This is where you can go and perhaps pause syncing if you need to. You can manage your storage here to see how much you actually have. And there is a settings icon here. So if I click on settings, this sort of shows you the back end of OneDrive on your PC. It'll show you what account you have linked, and I can actually add another account here if I need to, or perhaps unlink this PC from this OneDrive. Maybe I don't need this PC anymore. Maybe I don't want it syncing to my work for whatever reason. This is where I can unlink it. Wouldn't recommend unlinking your OneDrive unless you've been told to by your admin. And across the top, I can change a few other things such as settings. Things like, do I want OneDrive to start when I sign into Windows? I always have this on yes, because I want it to be syncing things as soon as I'm logged in. Automatically pause the sync if we're in battery saver or on a metered network. Can be great to save your battery and your data. And also notifications. Do I want a notification pop up when I go to remove something from the PC and say that it's on the cloud? Maybe I'm tired of it. I can untick it there too. Accounts, again, important to see what you're using. And backup. Backup is a really interesting one. So if I click on Manage Backup, you can actually choose if I want to have things like my desktop, documents and pictures automatically backed up to the cloud. Now, again, this could be managed by your organization. It may be ticked on, but it can be a great way to make sure that these core locations on your PC are always backed up into the cloud. Alternatively, you could choose not to use this folder backup, keeping your OneDrive folder separate for only the things you choose to upload. It's entirely up to you. Last few things such as network and Office, I would say aren't the most exciting thing. A few things about sync collaboration there. And of course, you have your general about page as well, just to check what version of OneDrive you're using. But again, the key ones here, I would say, are account and backup. So just make sure, especially if you're having any sync issues, which down here you will get notified of. If something isn't working, just take a little peek in there. Now on to SharePoint, and the way I'm actually going to talk about SharePoint is going to be through Teams. So if I open up my Teams location, we can see here that we have plenty of options for us when it comes to files, and there is even a Files tab on the left. If I click on that Files tab, it's actually going to open up a full list of recent files. Anything I've done from Teams directly, so maybe some shared OneDrive documents, shared notebooks, I should say. And then at the very bottom, I do have a cloud storage area, and this is another way that I can access my OneDrive depending on where I'm working. So if I don't want to open it in Edge, I don't want to open it on my desktop, I live inside of Teams, I can access everything from my Teams location too. And you can see here, it's all the same information as before, and I can upload the documents, start new documents, I can download things, move things around, and I can even open in OneDrive as well if I want it to take me directly there outside of Teams. And if you remember at the start, when it comes to Teams, if I share anything inside of a chat, for example, if I choose to go to my files section inside of a chat, share something, upload it, we have two options. We have from my OneDrive directly or from my computer. If I actually upload something from my computer, so maybe I have this locally stored demo document. There we go. It actually uploads to a location inside of my OneDrive. It's called Teams Chat Files, and this is why I'm getting the notification if I want to replace or keep both. The file storage location for chat files is the same no matter what chat you're using. It's just that OneDrive folder. So if I have something called demo document, even if I haven't shared it in this chat before, it's going to ask what I want to do with it. Keep both or replace. I'm going to hit replace here. It's going to say if it's uploading, and then it's going to add it to this document. There we go. It's now been replaced. Very handy. And again, this is stored in my OneDrive. That's why this sent by at the end is so important. Because I'm the original sender, I can manage the access, whereas Candy can manage her access when it comes to this particular folder, this file. However, inside of Teams, this is where SharePoint comes into play. Anything in the files area of Teams is actually stored on something called a SharePoint site. When you make a team, a SharePoint site is created in the background. And this is actually where a lot of your permissions and also your file storage is located. This allows us to have a much more in-depth file sharing and storage experience than we do inside of the chat files location. Because inside of a Teams channel, we have a lot more options. I can't just upload something or start a new one. I can create folder structures if I want to. I can upload entire files and folders as well, whereas chats only allowed me to upload files. I can also sync this down to have local access on my PC, just like we did with OneDrive. And again, I will remind you that if you do choose to sync this particular library, because this is online, any changes you make locally will be synced online. This is especially important when it comes to SharePoints because this is a shared file location. If I have this stored locally and I delete demo document, it's going to remove it from the entire team. So just be cautious of that. And the last few ones, copy link, download and add cloud storage, are all the same as before. But we do have open in SharePoint. This is really important. And I'm actually going to upload a file just to show you. You can grab it from your cloud storage location if you want to, doesn't matter. I'm actually going to see if I can find that STA document we were working on earlier. I believe it was stored in my documents area. Well, either way, can't remember exactly where it is at the moment, but I can upload things from here, files and folders. And once it has been uploaded, if I want to make some changes to some of these, I do have the ellipses here. I can open it inside of the web app. I can open it inside of Teams if I need to. I can copy a link to it. I can also make this a tab. So you can add documents as tabs across the top of Teams to make them easier to access. I've actually done this with the work from home procedure already. And it's a tab across the top. It's very easy for me to add a tab just by clicking on the plus here, choosing the file type in this case that I've uploaded already. So it's going to give me a list of applications. As I only have Word documents uploaded, all I would hit here or search for is Word once that loads up. And then I can add in the Word document as a tab just up here. Really, really useful. So let's have the demo document as a tab as well. I can change the title up at the top by going to rename. We're just going to call this demo, hit save. And now it's that cloud live document, just like we had before. We can work on it together inside of a team, but now everybody in the team has access to it. It does look like my net is having a little bit of a moment here with me today. There we go. Heading back to the files area though, if we were to open this in SharePoint, we can actually see truly where those files are stored. Think of Teams more like a window into the document library. It's more of a way to go through, grab the documents you need on the fly. But when it comes to the actual document storage location, it is inside of this SharePoint site. When I open it in SharePoint, symbolized by the S with these three little sort of turquoise looking circles around it, I get taken to the Scottish Tech Army SharePoint site. And this includes the documents area, which is where we've gone first. I also have a home page to catch up on things around Scottish Tech Army. This one's very basic. I haven't made any changes to it, but SharePoint admins certainly can do. We have documents, and we even have a notebook created as well, which is very handy. When it comes to documents, I can see here, if I open it directly, we actually have a folder for each of the different channels we have in the team. And that's sort of how the storage is located. If I go into General, I can see all of the files that we've shared inside of the General channel. Here I can, just like before, create some new files or folders. I can upload files, folders, or even some templates here as well. And I can share these out, copy the links to the library, download things, and so on. As you can see, looks super similar to OneDrive Online. And same thing goes. If I select the document, I get some extra options, such as how I want to open it, if I want to share it out. And if I go to the vertical ellipses next to it, same options as before, including things like the Manage Access area, as well as version history down at the bottom. You won't be able to access version history inside of Teams. So if you do have a shared location, you've shared some documents inside of a channel, and you want to manage the access, you will have to open it in SharePoint first. I'm actually going to go to Manage Access just to show you it does look a little bit different. On the right-hand side, I can see links giving access and direct access. Now, because we shared it directly with the team, everyone's been added to the direct access location. This includes owners of the team. So these are your team owners, people who created the team or have been marked as an owner. Inside of Teams, I can check who that is by heading to my post section, clicking on the little information up at the top, and seeing who's inside of the team members here. I can choose See All Members. Then I can see who the owners are and who the guests are and the members. And in SharePoint, this is reflected as owners and members as well. Guest access is called visitor access. So if you want to have your document inside of a team, only visible to the actual core contributors of the team, such as the members and the owners, you'll probably want to remove the visitors from direct access. If someone had created a link giving access, kind of like how we shared our document with Rich earlier, I'd see them up at the top here too. And I can create my own links too, just by clicking the share button. It may look a little different, but it works exactly the same way as before when it comes to how we want people sort of viewing the document, whether they can edit it, open it. But you'll notice my organization in this case has prevented me from choosing anyone with the link. This is very, very common, especially when it comes to things shared on SharePoint, again, just to maintain privacy. So when it comes to direct access, the owners are now the owners of the document. So if a member, such as, I don't know, Candy in this case, maybe she's not an owner of the team, she shared a document in the channel, I would then become the owner of it because I'm the team owner, and all of the permissions are managed from the SharePoint and Teams side of things. Candy would no longer be the owner of that document. It really is just for sharing and collaboration. And as an owner, I could even go in and revoke her access if I needed to. You can see here, currently Scottish Tech Army members, so non-owners, are actually in the Can View area. By default, this will be Can Edit, but this is where I can make those changes. I could even stop sharing it with them entirely so they wouldn't be able to access the document, only the owners could. And I can even add in extra people here too by clicking on the plus next to Direct Access. Here I could put a name if I want to manage individual access, or I can even add a group email here too. I'm going to see if I can get the visitors option back up. Let me see. Type that in. So we have Scottish Tech Army. I could add absolutely everybody to this. There we go. And if I search for Scottish Tech Army visitors, so that would be any externals or guests that we have inside of the team, I can add them. They're a group inside of M365. I can add them here, and then they will have an overall access level, or I could actually go in and add the individual members of the team and grant access there too. So in this case, maybe I'll grant access to a demo guest in this particular case. Once it's done, their name will appear under here, and I can choose if they have viewing or editing access and so on. So you can get really, really granular with the access if you wish to. And if you ever need to revoke any access as well, just click on the drop-down menu next to the person's name and choose Stop Sharing. Awesome. If they try and access the documents, even if it's using a link that they've used before, or they go back into this library space, once you've removed the access for someone, they'll just get an access denied pop-up when they go and try and look at it. So you don't need to worry about your files being accessible by anybody who's not listed here, which is very handy. And that's pretty much how collaboration and sharing documents works inside of SharePoint. Again, you'll mainly be using this exclusively through Teams, although if you're feeling a little bit bolder or you need to access a SharePoint site, maybe someone shared a SharePoint site with you, but you're not part of the team for whatever reason, you can also go to office.com. You can find SharePoint. Although again, looks like my browser's having a little bit of a moment here, but you can access SharePoint directly and then search for the name of the site that you need to access, which again will generally be the name of the team that shared it. So I can see I have my Scottish Tech Army here. I can get to it through the same way and find my document library here as well. Awesome. Final note, forgot to mention it because I think it's pretty obvious. If you do want to find any documents, if you're struggling to find them, pretty much all of these locations have a search bar across the top. This allows you to search through individual libraries, in this case for documents, or in terms of your OneDrive, search through all of your files. One final tip, if you're using Edge, so we're going to go over to just my new tab here. We've got a Bing search. If I'm looking for a demo document, just over here, I do have a tab across the top called Work. And this will allow you to basically search the entirety of your internet associated with your account for this particular result. And on the left-hand side, I can narrow it down to everything, people, groups, sites, and files. So if I want to find my demo document, it's going to show me things that I've shared. I've got demo files, demo notebook, and these results are personal to me because I'm inside of my work. And voila, just like that, I've gotten back to the file I needed through Edge. So again, Edge Work Search can be very helpful in a pinch if you can't remember where something is stored and all you can remember is the name. Now that's pretty much everything when it comes to cloud storage inside of M365. I hope you're feeling a bit more comfortable with OneDrive, SharePoint, how they work, how you can manage the access and sort of what the benefits are. But I know we've hit time. Was there anything else that we would like to cover, Rich?
No, I think that is pretty much everything that we need to cover. What I'm going to do is just paste the link for the survey into the announcements area.
Awesome. And I'll take you through that as well once the link's been posted. I'm actually going to get it myself so you can see exactly where it's from in this particular case. So bear with me. If you're looking for that link, all you need to do is go into the announcements section. Oh, not quite posted there yet, but once it is in this location down at the bottom, you'll be able to click on that and let us know any feedback you have for this session. Being as we've gone over and we've had a few sessions together, I don't think I will take you through this one, but suffice to say, you'll be taken to a web page that has a mark out of 10. Anything below an 8 for us, so 7 to 1 is considered a very poor score, an overall score for the session, and anything above that would be considered a passing grade at an 8. It was good at a 9 and it was excellent at a 10, so let us know what you thought. And as you go further down the form, you'll see the next question is about what you thought of my presenting skills, a rank from 1 to 10. Next one is about content, what you thought of the content in the session, again ranked 1 to 10. And then below you'll have a few boxes where you can let us know about the most valuable content, least valuable content, and any additional comments for us. I don't want to keep you any too much longer. It is an optional form as well, so let us know what you thought, and it is all anonymous too. So hopefully you'll give us the marks that you think are appropriate. Please explain if you've given us some bad marks as well. We'd love to know what we can do to improve these sessions. And I very much look forward to going back with you, Scottish Tech Army, on any other sessions that we have together. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good week, everybody. Goodbye.